This is Quiz 4, Step 4, Environmental Justice. When looking at the map of Washington and the toxic sites, you will see that there are many toxic sites spread across Washington state. You or your audience may need to know how many toxic waste sites are within each county, and then perhaps symbolize this. ArcMap has a tool to help you quickly determine how many toxic sites are in each county, or polygon. In this step, the demonstration will include a new tool, spatial join, that will help us accomplish the goal of determining how many, a quantity, of toxic sites are in each county, and or the density of toxic sites, or the number of toxic sites per square mile. We will determine the toxic sites per square mile by creating a field that specifies the area in square miles of the shapefile. ArcMap can do this simply based on the geometry that is stored within the data. Start off by saving your map as the new step. I've already saved it as step 3. I'm going to change this to step 4 within my maps of K4. I'm going to create a new data frame, and before I do so, I'm going to minimize these two so there's a lot of more room. Insert a data frame. I'm going to name it spatial join. Using my existing data from the data folder, Washington Counties Projects, and toxic waste. And you notice that toxic waste is spread throughout the state. We'll use what's called a spatial join. A spatial join joins attributes from one feature to another based on the spatial relationship. The target features and the join attributes from the join features are written to the output feature class. The process of starting a spatial join is similar to an attribute join. I'm starting with the Washington counties, scrolling to joins and relate, and choosing join. From the join, I'm going to choose up top, instead of join attributes from a table, join data from another layer based on spatial location. From there, Arc knows that there's only one other layer in my data frame, and in this case I'm going to choose that layer, toxic waste, and it's telling me that it points to polygons. I'm not going to worry about a summary of the values. This will be done automatically for us, what we're looking for, which is a join count. I just need to go into my save button and save this. I'm going to give this a name of county toxic join. Save. I'm going to go back and verify it is going to the Quiz 4 folder. You could use this about joining data to help you. I click OK, and the counties are now joined. Notice there's a new layer, county toxic join, that came in above the other two layers. I'm going to turn off Washington Project. I'm going to reorder my layers by putting toxic waste on top of toxic join, and then just turn off toxic join. Notice that there are no points on this layer, but if we open the attribute table, there is what's called a count field, and this is count underscore, and this tells us how many toxic waste sites are in each of the counties of Washington state. I can sort descending and see that the county with the most toxic waste sites is King County. I'm going to close the attribute table, and then I'm going to symbolize county toxic join based on that value. Scroll down to properties, choose Symbology, and I'm going to choose quantities. In this case, I'm going to choose the count field, and let's assume that we're going with a red color ramp because toxic sites are bad, and not a green to red, because any number of toxic waste sites is probably bad. Let's choose this yellow to red. I could also choose just a normal red. It's your choice. I started off with the yellow to red, so let's go with the yellow to red. And in this case, 0 to 7 sites will have yellow, orange, darker, and red. And right now we're looking at what's called natural breaks janks. We'll talk about them more in later classes, later lessons. And in this case, classes, there are 5. So they'll be divided up into 1 class, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different classes. If I move this out of the way, we'll see it as I click apply, the colors will take shape, the symbology. Here we have 5 classes. To show you how it might differ if we changed it to 4, I'll open up the Symbology tab of Layer Properties and change it to 4. Move this out of the way a little bit and click Apply. So it changed a little bit. You notice there's a lot more yellow because that range now increased. Instead of 0 to 7, it changed to 0 to 13. So there are 0 to 13 waste sites and everything that is that bright yellow. I'll change it back to 5. Apply. Our goal is now to show the number of sites per square mile. And to do this, we need to know how big or how many square miles we have in each county. I'll start off by opening the attribute table and adding a field called area square miles. In this case, instead of a short integer, I'm going to choose a double. I normally choose, if it's a number, I'll go with a double. If it's text, it's a text, and if it's a date, I choose date. Otherwise, instead of short integer, long integer, float, and double, I just choose double. And for right now, we can leave these field properties at their defaults. And area square miles is too long. So I'll click area square mi, which will work, and we'll go with that. To calculate the geometry or the square miles, it's as easy as right-clicking, calculate geometry. This little warning pops up. Never check this because it's a nice warning to get. Click yes. In this case, we're choosing area. This item right here is interesting. It asks the coordinate system of the data source or the coordinate system of the data frame. So we know that the data frame is in fact the same as the source. Instead of square meters, I want to choose square miles US. I click OK and then yes. I'll sort descending and then ascending just to see what my totals look like. Now that we have our totals, I can show the number of sites per square mile by closing the attribute table and going back to my symbology. I'll choose properties, which you can't quite see off the bottom. And in the properties, I have count. And there's this item called normalization. Normalization will help us determine the amount of square sites, or amount of sites per square mile. So we're going to normalize by area square miles. And that will change our view quite a bit because it's taking into account the size of the county when we're showing how bad the county is for their toxic sites. I notice I'll pull that out of the way and you can see what it looks like. One type that I've never used, and I hope you never use, is never choose percent of total. That is a misnomer. It doesn't do exactly what it says. And log. I have never used percent of total for sure, and definitely not log. So neither of those have I chosen before. And you won't either in any of the courses that I teach at UW Tacoma. I'm choosing area square mile and apply. And the results are a little bit different now. And now we have done what's called normalize our data. While I'm here, I'll show you a little bit about the labels. And in this case, you may be realizing that there's not going to be a significant number per square mile, such as population, but it still gives us a visual to show when we normalize by the square miles. And in this case, I'm going to try to choose the number of decimal places and just change it to 2 to see what it looks like. I'll click OK. So now I have a label. It's not that effective in showing 0.00, 0.01, 0.02 the number per square mile. So I may want to choose something like few, more, average, medium, high, very high. Or we could just leave it as showing a generic color ramp. But those are discussions for another day and perhaps another class. In this case, I'll just leave it as showing you the label to show that that's how we can change the label in the legend. Click apply, OK, and notice it shows up over here. I've given you the answer to number 59. If you missed it, be sure to go back and listen a little bit to the video about which normalization method that I have never ever used out of the list that I provide in the online quiz. I'm done with this section. I'm going to save my map again. I haven't saved it at all during this step, so I'll just click the save for step 4. And I've completed a spatial join. I've symbolized based on the join count, and I've also done a pseudo number of toxic sites per square mile, but I definitely in fact have symbolized at this point based on the number per square mile. And that concludes step 4 of quiz 4 in GIS 311 demonstration.